would be a warning to you.
Yeah, we agreed early on, just on the health care point. We thought it was bad, but we were going to vote for the health care bill, even though it denied legal immigrants to the United States for the first 5 years any participation in the health care reform. But moreover, look, Democrats have been procrastinating. Republicans have certainly been putting up every barrier possible. We need to move this forward. That's why we need this president of change, this president of transformation, this president of commitment, this president who understands these issues to lead on this issue. So we're putting our focus and our attention today there. But let me be very clear. We want him to be our leader so that we can march together and then confront the obstacles together. There's been a disconnect between the community-based organizations, between the richness of all of those of us that are fighting on the front line for immigrant rights and this presidency. We want that to end. We want this president to succeed. We want this president to engage us as our leader on this issue. So let me just say, in the House, I remember sitting down maybe 2-3 years ago with Rahm Emanuel in Chicago. And, he's a tough vote counter. We were in his office back on Irving Park when he didn't have a suite there at the White House on the West Wing. And we went through. We got to about 190 Democrats that he and I agreed with, and Rahm always having the veto pen over who would or would not vote for a comprehensive immigration reform. So, look, I'm confident that in the House there are well over 200 members. Again, I said it at the beginning. We need to do more, better job to reach out to Republicans, but we also need to make sure that our base is strengthened and strong. In the Senate, I worked with Senator Kennedy and Senator McCain. Congressman Flake and Congressman Gutierrez introduced the bill in the House, McCain and Kennedy in the Senate. We worked for 2 years on that bill to put a bipartisan proposal together. We can do it again. Republicans do exist. We need to bring forward a bill that they see has an opportunity of winning. How can we ask Republicans to risk their political capital if we, in a leadership position, have not set the stage for a victory on immigration reform? Once we set that stage, once we show them how many votes, and once they see that it is possible, I think we will have more support from them. It won't be a lot, but we don't need a lot. We need 10, 15% of the Republican caucus to join us. We need to continue, but we need to show them leadership on this issue also.
Congressman, we hear from the White House that the immigration strategy will be very similar to the health care strategy, in a sense, that the White House will give great latitude to the Senate. They'll see if the Senate can work out a compromise. If one presents itself and a consensus emerges, the White House will get on board and declare its support. We saw that in health care there were great delays. We saw some of the drawbacks of this strategy. I wondered if you could comment on that. I mean, would you like to see a different approach when it comes to immigration?
Sure, I'd like to see a different approach. But you know what? I want to see an approach. That's really what's been lacking here. There's no game plan. There is no approach. There's no setting goals and objectives, really. There's really a morass here of nothing really going on. That's overstating it. It's like start, stop, start, stop. We never quite finish. So look, I'm looking forward. I'm happy that Senator Schumer and Senator Lindsey Graham are working together in a bipartisan. I was delighted to see their blueprint. Is it far from a legislative? Sure it is. But you know what? The majority leader, Reid, has said he'll put time on the Senate floor. He said that on numerous occasions. I know that Chairman Leahy is looking forward to seeing a bill so that he can call for those markups. And what I'm saying to my party, the Democrats, here today, what we're saying to them is, Chairman Leahy is the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. Let's get a markup. We know he believes in us. Let's get that floor time on the Senate. Let's get Schumer and Lindsey Graham to finish that blueprint and turn it into legislative language. Let's get it going. And then see what obstacles present themselves. Instead of always saying, well, it's a hard job. Maybe we can't get there. It's so difficult. So we never begin. We have to start being optimists and stop being so pessimistic, because I think we're pessimistic because we really don't want to engage because it's a difficult thing to do. It's not going to be easy, but it is necessary to get it done for our nation.
Congressman, what is the timetable here? We're in an election season, obviously. Members are going to be campaigning home in their districts in the summer and in the fall. By what time does a bill have to move in the Senate for this to have a realistic shot at passing? Can you handicap this for us?
Yeah, my real feelings is April. You know, we're going to go on a recess for a couple of weeks, Easter recess, spring recess. I think there's going to be plenty of time. I really believe most of the legislative language is already done. You can't really change comprehensive immigration reform that much. There are certain pillars and certain standards that are already clearly delineated when Kennedy and McCain, I and Flake introduced the bill in the House and in the Senate. Sure, there are changes that Lindsey Graham is going to want to make and Schumer's going to want to put his imprimatur on it. Great. There's only so much of that you can really do. So my feeling is, let's get it done. And what we're coming here to Washington, D.C. by the tens of thousands and say, we want to see it get started in late April. We want to see the legislation introduced and the markup begin so that in May or June, we might get some floor time, which Senator Harry Reid, the majority leader, has said. And then, look, today's march and coming together in Washington, D.C. is but one step of a continuum. There will be town hall meetings. There will be people visiting their congresspeople, their senators on the 10th of April. I will be with the majority leader at a huge rally in Las Vegas on May 1st. There will be organized events across this nation. I really believe that if the legislative process stalls and we can't get things done in April and get this process, then we need to go back to the field. Then we need to do what the suffrage movement did, with civil rights movement, what the labor movement did. We need to go back into the field and create the conditions by making sure that the American public understands the immorality of not having comprehensive immigration, the abuse and the exploitation. Tell the story of that soldier that comes back from Iraq only to find an order of deportation for his wife while he's been risking his life. Tell the story of the American citizen dying of cancer with his wife being deported. The 4 million children, let's hear their voices and how they live in fear that their parents are somehow going to vanish and disappear in the middle of the night because an immigration agent is going to take them away from them. There are stories that abound that if the American public saw the abuse, the exploitation of women in onion fields and in garlic fields in California and sweatshops in LA, in those meatpacking plants in Iowa and Nebraska, if they saw the exploitation of those women by their managers, if they heard those voices, I just know that America, and that's part of what we want our president to do, to start a campaign so that we all hear those voices and listen to those stories, because that immorality, I think, will be such that the American public will respond in a genuine and in a full fashion to incorporate them and embrace them and protect them.
Quick follow-up from Peter Nichols.
Congressman, what are the political repercussions for Democrats if there's further delay on this issue? President Obama initially said he would deal with immigration in his first year. We're now in year 2. If nothing happens this year, might there be a backlash at the polls? Will Latino voters stay home? Will they conceivably vote Republican? What do you expect will happen?
Yeah, look, I'll try to put it to you in this perspective. President Barack Obama, what a wonderful thing. Hispanic woman on the Supreme Court, expansion of health care services for children, even including immigrant children, more educational opportunities, and Pell Grant increases and more educational opportunities, housing, and coming back to make sure that housing opportunities are expanded. So many great things. You know what? They're all going to be lost because the key issue that is going to be on the minds, that issue that really is a issue of passion in the heart of our community, to include all of us, to bring us all out of the shadows and into the light. Immigration reform, if you don't do it, I really think there are going to be a lot of people that are simply going to question whether they should have any loyalty to the Democratic Party and whether this party really responded to them. That's why it's important that the president act from a purely political point of view, to show that the promises that he made in the campaign, he's ready to carry them out as president of the United States. I think in the midterm elections, I think you'll see a fall off. And I think in the next general election, it's going to be the key question, right? Where will Latinos go? Will they say to themselves, the Republicans have treated us so badly, so poorly, we can never go there, and therefore we need to stay with Democrats? Or will we simply say, shame on both of you, and simply exclude ourselves from the political process?
Rick Denham.
Congressman, last time immigration came up, President Bush was in the White House. A Republican was there. You had support from a decent number of Republicans. This time, the Republicans have been trying to stop legislation from passing in general. I was wondering about three specific Republicans who could play key roles, and see what you think their temperature is right now. Congressman Flake is one. You had mentioned him earlier. He was somewhat critical of the proposal that you released in December because it did not have a guest worker program. Senator Cornyn from Texas is another one. He is the head of the Republican Senatorial Committee, their campaign arm, but he has been an advocate of comprehensive reform of some sort in the past. I was wondering if you think he could be brought on board. And Senator McCain is the third, who was with Senator